So tonight, first book of Nephi, chapter 3.
And it came to pass that I, Nephi, returned from speaking with the Lord to the tent of my father. And it came to pass that he spake unto me, saying, Behold, I have dreamed a dream, in the which the Lord hath commanded me that thou and thy brethren shall return to Jerusalem. For behold, Laban hath the record of the Jews, and also a genealogy of thy forefathers, and they are engraven upon plates of brass. Wherefore the Lord hath commanded me that thou and thy brothers should go unto the house of Laban, and seek the records, and bring them down hither into the wilderness. Now behold, thy brothers murmur, saying, It is a hard thing which I have required of them. But behold, I have not required it of them, but it is a commandment of the Lord. Therefore go, my son, and thou shalt be favored of the Lord, because thou hast not murmured.
Nephi, you may remember at the end of chapter 2, was speaking to the Lord. The Lord was comforting him and encouraging him. Right? So now as chapter 3 begins, it says that he comes from speaking to the Lord back to his father's tent, and now his father has something to tell him. So his father, of course, being Lehi, tells him that he has dreamed a dream that they need to go to the house of a man named Laban to retrieve something that he has. It's a record of the Jews and a genealogy of their forefathers, which were engraven upon plates of brass, right? So, of course, being plates where they keep the records on, right? And so, right in verse 3, it describes what it is that they're going to be seeking. And now, when you think of what this is, right? This is a record that they were keeping over the years. And so it was things that were happening in Jerusalem, many things of which wound up going into the Bible, right? Because they were records from the different prophets and so forth. They're writing down things that they're being told. So a lot of this same information is going to wind up in the Bible when they put it together, right? But it also contains a genealogy, which shows whose father is who and so forth, all the way down to their family, right? They didn't have an Ancestry.com to look at or to find their ancestry, so this was it. Because once they travel over there, there's no coming back. They're going to cross the ocean, so it's not like they can run back to look up something. There's nothing there, so they need to carry this information with them, so they have a record of where they came from, so they have information about the prophets are giving, and even their own genealogy, right? That they have this information with. He's probably asked all of his sons to go, right? To go back to get this information from the house of Laban, right? But now it says in verse 5, it says, Behold, thy brothers murmur, saying it's a hard thing which I have required of them, right? So now, which brothers do you think were doing the murmuring? Laman and Lemuel, most likely, right? Because they're the ones that they don't believe in this dream stuff, and and so they're really barely even believe in God, I suspect. So the idea that God would speak and say, "Well, go get these things from Laban," they had a hard time with that. Now, how far are they from Jerusalem at this point? 3 days of walking. Okay, and in fact, I think we had said last week we estimated about 150 miles. All right, so they walked basically to Harrisburg, right, or further, right, and so they were that far away, and now they go back and get we forgot something, right? Go back and get it, and so that's right, that's a long walk. Okay, so needless to say, that by itself, they weren't too thrilled with that. If they're thinking, if we needed this, why didn't you tell me before we left, right? Instead of me having to go back and get it, right? But on top of that, I'm sure they didn't see the importance of this. So it's not really an easy thing that they're being asked to do, but yet he says it's not me that's requiring of you, but it's a commandment of the Lord.
And it came to pass that I, Nephi, said unto my father, I will go and do the things which the Lord hath commanded, for I know that the Lord giveth no commandments unto the children of men, save he shall prepare a way for them, that they may accomplish the thing which he commandeth them. And it came to pass that when my father had heard these words, he was exceeding glad, for he knew that I had been blessed of the Lord.
Verse 7 in particular, right, is one that we quote from time to time. It is Nephi's response to being asked the same thing that the other brothers were, that they murmured and complained and so forth. Nephi's response was, I will go and do the things which the Lord has commanded. Okay, and we sometimes just quote that, I will go and do the things which the Lord has commanded. That was his first response. The Lord's commanded it, then I'm going to go and do that. Because, as it says at the end, and this is what we just said a few minutes ago, he shall prepare a way for them that they may accomplish the thing which he commanded them. Right? So he's saying the same thing. If it's a commandment of God, he's going to make a way for it to happen. So why should I be afraid then? Why should I hold back? Why should I say it can't be done? If it's really a commandment of the Lord, then he's going to make a way for it to be accomplished. Right? And that's a good lesson for any of us in this life. Right? If we feel that the Lord has put upon our heart to do something, to accomplish something, whatever it might be, if it's really from Him, He'll make a way for it to happen. Because why would He tell you do this and then it's impossible to do it? It's kind of silly. So it says if He's really commanding it, He'll make a way for it to be accomplished. Okay, and of course, now Lehi hearing this, that's a good answer, right? He didn't get the answer he wanted from the other brothers, but he finally got to Nephi, now he got the answer he wanted, that he was ready to go and do what the Lord had commanded.
And I, Nephi, and my brethren took our journey in the wilderness with our tents to go up to the land of Jerusalem. And it came to pass that when we had come up to the land of Jerusalem, I and my brethren did consult one with another. And we cast lots, who of us should go in unto the house of Laban. And it came to pass that the lot fell upon Laman. And Laman went in unto the house of Laban, and he talked with him as he sat in his house.
So now they went ahead and they made their way back, 3 days back, and arrived back in Jerusalem, right? So now, once they were there, well, now we need a plan to get the plates. Right? I mean, okay, we're here, here's Laban's house, the plates are in there somewhere. Now, and Laban's like a wealthy man, he's probably got guards around and soldiers and so forth, so it's not just like, so we can ring the bell, okay, plates please, I mean, you need a plan to do this. So, all right, well, who's going to go in and talk to him? There's 4 of us here, it doesn't require 4 of us to ask a question, so who's going to go in? So they needed a way to decide which of the 4 would go. It says that they cast lots to decide that. Yeah, usually maybe you'd have one short straw and the 3 of the other side in this case, and so whoever gets the short straw is the winner, or the loser, as the case may be, and they get to be the one to go in and talk to Laban about it, all right? So now, this way of deciding things, I mean, there's at least one other occasion, which we read about, occasion in the Bible where they drew lots for what I thought was a very important thing they had to do. When Judas committed suicide, right, that there was an opening in the 12, and so in Acts chapter 1, it said they needed to fill the position. So they narrowed it down to 2 men, and then it said they drew lots as to which one would be picked, right? So that's how they picked one. So it was random, but I guess they believed that God would influence the outcome of that. So okay, so here they drew lots, and of all people to get picked to go in, okay, he says Laman winds up being the one to go in to talk to Laban, who was probably the one who was least enthused about this particular mission. Right, but now he's the one who's going to go in and talk to him and ask about the plates.
And he desired of Laban the records which were engraven upon the plates of brass, which contained the genealogy of my father. And behold, it came to pass that Laban was angry, and thrust him out from his presence, and he would not that he should have the records. Wherefore he said unto him, Behold, thou art a robber, and I will slay thee. But Laman fled out of his presence, and told the things which Laban had done unto us. And when we began to be exceeding sorrowful, and my brethren were about to return unto my father in the wilderness.
Right, so it says he went in the house and asked Laban for the records, and it says he was angry, right, and like how dare you ask me for this? And so he threw him out of the house and said you're a robber, and I'm going to kill you, and so forth, and basically he had to run for his life and get out of the house at that point. So he'll say he was unsuccessful in his attempt to come up with the particular records, right? So when he got back and told the brothers what happened, of course they were sorry to hear that it didn't go well, and so now it says that they're, prepared to go back and tell their father, well, it didn't work out. Of course, we know that they didn't go back, as we just said, that the Lord said that this was something that He wanted them to do, and that He would make a way for it to be accomplished. So if this wasn't the way, then there needs to be some other way, but the Lord's going to make a way for it to happen. So you can just give up and go back, right? Well, I tried this, it didn't work. Well, that's not really going to be pleasing in God's sight, right? And again, I keep, comparing it to ourselves, if you will, is that, again, if the Lord tells us to do something, do we make kind of what I might call a half-hearted attempt, and okay, I tried, didn't work, right? Or, do we want to persevere and say, well, I really believe this is what God wants me to do, so all right, that didn't work, then let's try it another way, and there must be another way where it can be accomplished, and so that's what they're going to be doing here.
But behold, I said unto them that as the Lord liveth, and as we live, we will not go down unto our father in the wilderness until we have accomplished the thing which the Lord hath commanded us. Wherefore, let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Therefore let us go down to the land of our father's inheritance. For behold, he left gold and silver and all manner of riches, And all this he hath done because of the commandments of the Lord. For he knew that Jerusalem must be destroyed because of the wickedness of the people. For behold, they have rejected the words of the prophets. Wherefore, if my father should dwell in the land after he hath been commanded to flee out of the land, behold, he would also perish. Wherefore it must needs be that he flee out of the land.
Now in 15, you see Nephi's response, right, which is kind of course, in tune with what we're saying here tonight. It says that, behold, as the Lord liveth, as we live, we're not going back to our father until we've accomplished the thing which the Lord commanded us. All right, so, all right, that didn't work, but we're going to figure out a way because the Lord commanded us to do this, and it's going to be successful one way or another. So that didn't work. We got to find another way. All right, so he came up with a plan B. Right? We got lots of stuff that we left behind. Let's go gather it up, and we'll go and buy the plates off this guy. Right? He's motivated by wealth. So we'll try to exchange our riches for the plates. So that's plan B, right? And now notice there's just like a little note thrown in there at the end in 17 and 18, just saying that of course Lehi left the stuff behind, right? But they picked up and left, but repeating kind of what we said last week because he knew that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed because of the wickedness of the people, right? And it says that that if they had not followed the commandment of God to flee out of the city, that they would have been among those killed as well, right? So like I said, we talked about that last week, how they were going to follow the direction of the Lord, and he was giving them this warning that they might flee before the city was destroyed, right? So because they followed that direction, they were able to escape that. Now, if they were worried about the riches, then they wouldn't have left, because I doubt that it was stuff they could have carried with them, because they had a lot. So, again, it's not like they could get a U-Haul, right, and bring it with them, right, or figure out some other way to ship it or crate it or pack it or send it, right? So
you had to bring just the necessities.
Exactly, right. So they brought just the necessities because, again, they were walking. So it's not like they even had a hand cart, right, or even I didn't read anything about like any animals that they could have put it on, a horse or a camel or anything, right? So it was just the necessities that they were going to carry with them.
And behold, it is wisdom in God that we should obtain these records, that we may preserve unto our children the language of our fathers, and also that we may preserve unto them the words which have been spoken by the mouth of all the holy prophets, which have been delivered unto them by the Spirit and power of God, since the world began, even down unto this present time. And it came to pass that after this manner of language that I persuade my brethren that they might be faithful in keeping the commandments of God.
This whole thing about how the Lord preserved them by making them escape the city, and now how important it is to have these records, right? He's basically trying to convince his brothers to stay around and give this another try. Because again, they want to go back. They said, we tried, let's go back. I'm sure they weren't thrilled about taking all their belongings from the house and giving them those away, because they're probably hoping that after a couple of weeks their father will come to his senses and they can come back to their house. Yeah. Well, now once we give away all our stuff, and now we got nothing, right? And now we come back to an empty house. So they're not thrilled about the idea of doing this, of giving their riches away to buy these plates, this information that they could care less about. But now Nephi is explaining what is on here, right? As you can see in 19, it says it's wisdom in God that we should obtain these records that we can preserve unto our children the language of our fathers. They were changing over to a new way of speaking or writing, and so this way that their children could have some idea as to what their original language was like, right? And we today go through the same things, right? That really, by the time maybe we have another generation or so comes along, we're going to have to give them books to look at to remember what real English was like. If you look at somebody's text messages, right, does that resemble real English to you? Okay, but so there's people who think that that's the way those words are spelled, right? Is the way you spell them on the phone, because that's the way a lot of our young ones talk now. So, and the idea of grammar, I mean, the full sentences and commas and punctuation. I mean, who does that anymore, right? So, like I said, the times when they're coming up to hand somebody a book from 50 years ago and say, see, this is what English is supposed to look like, right? And so we're going to have to preserve our language at some point. Everybody's going to think, that there's no such thing as capital letters, right, or punctuation. In 20, again, you see a little preview of what's included on these plates, right? It says, the words of the prophets and so forth, right, since the world began, even down to the present time. What book do you know of that has that same kind of information? they did the Old Testament, right, has, right, from the beginning of the world down through the prophets. So they had a lot of the similar information that they were going to carry with them, right? And later on, when they reference the books by some people like named Isaiah or something like that, that they had similar, they had the writings of these same people that they were going to carry with them, so this way they could have that to reference. Because like I've said, that it's not like you go to a bookstore and buy a Bible, right? Or that was the only record they had of what the prophets were saying, so they wanted to bring that with them. All right, so he's putting all this out there, telling the brothers, this is important, God's commanded it, we have to do this, so let's stick it out and make it happen.
And it came to pass that we went down to the land of our inheritance, and we did gather together our gold and our silver and our precious things. And after we had gathered these things together, we went up again unto the house of Laban. And it came to pass that we went in unto Laban, and desired him that he would give unto us the records which were engraven upon the plates of brass, for which we would give unto him our gold and our silver and all our precious things.
It says they followed through with the plan. This is now Plan B, as we're calling it. Right? It says they went down to the land of their inheritance, and you remember last week we talked about what it means to have a land of your inheritance. So they went to their home, they gathered up all the stuff, right? And what does it say? That the gold and silver and precious things, they brought it all together to the house of Laban, and they came and they laid it out and said, okay, this is what we got, we'll trade you this for the plates of brass. Okay, it's a pretty good deal. I mean, look at all this gold and silver and so forth, and just a few rusty old plates there that you probably never even look at. Right, we'll trade you this for that. So that was the deal that they were offering.
And it came to pass that when Laban saw our property, and that it was exceeding great, he did lust after it, insomuch that he thrust us out, and sent his servants to slay us, that he might obtain our property. And it came to pass that we did flee before the servants of Laban, and we were obliged to leave behind our property, and it fell into the hands of Laban. And it came to pass that we fled into the wilderness, and the servants of Laban did not overtake us, and we hid ourselves in the cavity of a rock.
So they laid it all out. It said for Laban here, it was gold and silver and precious things. Now, was Laban impressed with the stuff that they had?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did he want the stuff they had?
Yeah.
Okay. So did he take the stuff they had?
Yeah. Thank God he
What's that?
kill him, and then he'd take the property too.
Right. The only problem is he didn't give them anything. Okay. As you can see, it says he chased them out and was going to have them killed. And then he says, okay, I'll keep her stuff, but you're still not getting the plates, right? And so because he had soldiers and so forth, so they were forced to flee and leave their stuff behind. As it says they sent his servants to slay us, they might obtain our property, and they chased them out of the house. And finally they lost them. They went out, and hid in the wilderness. It's hid in the cavity of a rock, which is a cave, right? So they hid in the cave and finally got away from them. But now they're hiding in the cave and said, guess what? We still don't have the plates, right? Now our house is empty and we gave away all of our stuff and we still don't have the plates. That really the way it's going to shake out is that, God wants to be the one making the way for it to happen. Because that's what was said right at the beginning, that God would make a way for this to be successful. Right? And so I think the idea of buying the stuff, so it's like, all right, well God can't do it for us, so we'll buy it instead. And I don't think that would really be typically God's plan. Right, and so again, it's good for us to understand that if we are going to depend upon God to help us accomplish something, then we depend upon God to accomplish it. Right, you can't just say, well let me buy the thing and I'll give my money and then therefore make it happen. You can see the way the ideas come about. All right, let's draw lots and somebody to decide who's going to go in and talk. Let's get money or gold and go buy the thing. Right, well these are ideas of people. These are kind of things we would do if we all sat together in a circle and we're going to come up with ideas. These would be some of the ideas that we would come up with. But these are our ideas. If you want God to be in the matter, then you got to let God make it happen, and then allow God to make that way that the commandment might be accomplished. Okay, so I think that's really what happened here, is that they tried different things on their own and it failed miserably.
And it came to pass that Laman was angry with me, and also with my father, and also was Lemuel, for he hearkened unto the words of Laman. Wherefore Laman and Lemuel did speak many hard words unto us, their younger brothers, and they did smite us even with a rod. And it came to pass, as they smote us with a rod, behold, an angel of the Lord came and stood before them. And he spake unto them, saying, Why do you smite your younger brother with a rod? Know ye not that the Lord hath chosen him to be a ruler over you, and this because of your iniquities? Behold, ye shall go up to Jerusalem again, and the Lord will deliver Laban into your hands. And after the angel had spoken unto us, he departed. And when the angel had departed, Laban and Lemuel again began to murmur, saying, How is it possible that the Lord will deliver Laban into our hands? Behold, he is a mighty man, and he can command 50, yea, even he can slay 50. Then why not us?
To no one's surprise, as we would have surmised, it says Laman and Lemuel were angry with Nephi for having done this, giving away all their belongings, and still they don't have the plates. They're chased by servants or soldiers wanting to kill them. Right? And they're now in a cave with nothing, and they were scared and just had enough of this. So it says that they when they got a rod and started beating up their brothers with a rod, right? I mean, hitting them and over and over with it and so forth. And so I guess both Nephi and Sam were getting beat with the rods here. And so in the middle of this happening, it says an angel appears and stood before them to stop this particular display of violence, right? And it says, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you beating your younger brother with a rod?" Right now, it says Laman and Lemuel, who we said were not believers. An angel appears before them, so and speaks to them. They witness an angel speaking to them directly, saying, "What are you doing? Why are you hitting your younger brother with a rod?" So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean that would be a pretty powerful experience to me, right? And pretty much something that would change the course of your life to say, wow, an angel of God came and spoke to me and told me that I was doing wrong and to stop doing that, right? We've had people who've come to the church here who had a similar testimony, and it did change their life when that happened, right? And when the Lord directed them in some way that their life was going the wrong direction, they needed to change, and they did. They changed their life, and they came here and were baptized and changed their life, right? So this is a life-changing experience if you allow it to be, right? But so here's the angel, stop them, and now it even goes further. It says, "Don't you know the Lord's chosen him, Nephi, to be a ruler over you?" Right? Now,
that must have went down like a rock.
Exactly. Right? That would be a hard message to hear.
Two right in a row. They don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but it says, the Lord's chosen to be a ruler over you because of your iniquities. Right? Typically, as you would know from the scripture, the oldest is normally the one recognized as being, if you will, in charge, or the birthright and all that. Next in line. Okay. So the idea that the youngest brother would be in charge is tough to deal with anyway, right? But now I say, well, because of your iniquities, the Lord has selected him to be kind of the ruler of this particular little family.
Kind of like Joseph.
Kind of like Joseph, right? Okay. Which interestingly, these are descendants of Joseph, so yeah, it's very similar to that. Okay, so he gives them this hard news, right, and then says, and now for your next thing, you're going to go back and try again. Right? So that you're over 2 today, but you're going to go back and try again, right? But this time the Lord's going to deliver Laban into your hands. Right, so now he's telling him, the angel, that you go back one more time, and this time you're going to be successful because the Lord's going to deliver Laban into your hands. All right, so again, to you and to me, that would be like, wow, that's a great experience. All right, and now I'm going to go back all enthused and excited and ready to see what the Lord's going to do to make this happen. But they are disputing what the angel said. Right, that's really what's happening. Is that, all right? Well, while the angel's there, I'm sure they're all cowering and all awestruck, right?
Well,
but now,
it didn't strike them that much.
But it didn't last long. Even faced with an angel of God who stopped them, right in mid rod beating, right? And now the angel has left. Right. Well, the first thing they say, which is, as you're all saying, right, is that they were saying, "How is it possible the Lord's going to deliver Laban into our hands?" Never mind that the angel said it. How is it possible? Because Laban, he's a powerful man. I mean, he could have 50 men doing his bidding. He could have 50 men killed just by his word. And then we're 4 brothers. How are we going to overpower him? How is the Lord going to deliver him into our hands? It's not possible. I don't see any way that it can happen. Right? That's really what they're saying. And if you look at it with a natural way of looking at it, that would probably be true. That's actually the end of the chapter, see, so we're gonna treat this like a cliffhanger, okay? So in chapter 4, it kind of finishes this part of the story.